Welcome back to Investing Talk podcast. Today we're dissecting a company that's really a tale of two halves. On one side, you've got this explosive growth story, but on the other, there's a pretty significant list of legal and regulatory challenges stacking up. We're talking about HIMS and HERS Health. And the central question on, I think, everyone's mind is, with all the swirling around it, is HIMS and HERS Health a good time to buy now? We've poured over financial reports, legal filings, market sentiment data, trying to get you the clearest possible picture. Before we unpack all of that, if you find this discussion valuable, please do hit that subscribe button, give us a like, maybe leave a comment. Your support truly helps us bring you more analyses like this one. And if you'd like to consider buying us a coffee, you can find the link for that in the show notes. Also, very important, if there's a specific company you'd like us to look into next, just drop a comment below and let us know.
It's certainly been a tumultuous period for HIMS and HERS, hasn't it? When we look at the recent challenges, the most impactful event, the one that really jumps out, is the abrupt collapse of its partnership with Novo Nordisk. That happened back on June 23rd, 2025. And it just sent the stock reeling. It plunged a staggering 34% that same day.
Wow. A 34% drop in one day. That's huge, especially for a company that's been posting such big growth numbers. What exactly caused that kind of market panic beyond just, the Novo Nordisk news itself?
Well, our sources indicate this dramatic fall was directly linked to some pretty serious allegations. The core issue seems to revolve around claims that HIMS and HERS promoted and sold unauthorized versions of Wegovy, the really popular weight loss drug. The legal filings suggest their marketing strategies, maybe even their fundamental business model, might have been misrepresented to investors. This obviously sparked significant patient safety concerns and, well, ultimately led to Novo Nordisk pulling the plug on the collaboration. It wasn't just a quiet breakup. It felt like a very public statement about non-compliance.
Okay, so the Novo Nordisk partnership dissolves pretty dramatically. What were the immediate ripple effects? Did other partners get nervous, or did investors just start digging deeper into things?
Oh, it absolutely snowballed. Following that bombshell, investors moved pretty quickly to bring class action lawsuits. Now, these lawsuits allege that the company misled the market during a specific window that's between April 29th and June 23rd, 2025. And what's really crucial for any affected investors listening right now is that the deadline for participating in these lawsuits, specifically to try and become a lead plaintiff, is coming up really, really soon, August 25th.
Okay, August 25th. Good to know. And it's not just private lawsuits, right? I understand the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, is also involved, adding another layer of regulatory pressure.
That's correct. The FTC has actually been probing HIMS and HERS Health's business practices for over a year now. Their investigation seems to be looking specifically at two main things. First, whether the company makes it, too difficult for customers to cancel subscriptions. That's a common issue in the subscription world. And second, a broader look into their advertising practices. Now, the company's investor communications have pointed out this inquiry was previously disclosed, but the timing, having multiple pressures converging like this, it's certainly raising eyebrows.
So we've got lawsuits over potentially unauthorized products, allegations of misleading investors, and an FTC probe into subscriptions and advertising. Legal experts must be looking at this whole picture and wondering about the fundamental viability of their approach.
Exactly. And that raises a really important question about the long-term sustainability of their operational model. Legal experts are indeed openly questioning HIMS and HERS Health's business model, given this sort of perfect storm of regulatory and legal pressures. They're also intensely examining whether the company's public disclosures have really lined up with its operational realities. That's, fundamental for corporate integrity and crucial for keeping investor confidence. It definitely creates a significant cloud over their future.
It certainly does. Okay, so we've painted a clear picture of the legal storm brewing, but even as those clouds gather, HIMS and HERS has consistently, as we said, boasted really impressive financial growth. Can these strong fundamentals actually weather this storm, or are they maybe potentially a bit of a mirage fueled by practices that are now under scrutiny? What did the actual numbers tell us?
That's the core tension, isn't it? Despite all the recent stock volatility and the legal noise, the company has, well, on paper at least, shown really robust growth. In Q2 2025, they reported an impressive 72.6% year-over-year revenue growth. That brought them to $544.83 million for the quarter. And if we zoom out a bit, their trailing 12-month revenue was substantial, $2.01 billion. They crossed that $2 billion mark for the first time.
Those are eye-popping numbers. What's specifically driving that kind of expansion? Is it just bringing in hordes of new users, or are they getting more money out of the users they already have?
It's actually a pretty compelling combination of both, which is what you want to see. The growth is primarily fueled by a significant 31% expansion in their subscriber base. So yes, they're successfully bringing in a lot of new customers, but crucially, they're also seeing a substantial increase around 30% in average revenue per user, or ARPU. So that indicates not just a growing customer base, but also that they're successfully encouraging existing users to, engage more deeply or buy more of their offerings.
Okay, so growing both wide and deep, that usually is a powerful combination. But growth is one thing, profitability, that's another. A lot of investors focus on actual earnings. How does that picture look, especially with these legal issues maybe impacting future revenue?
You're right to dig into profitability. And while there had been positive earnings momentum in previous quarters, for instance, both Q1 2025 and Q4 2024 earnings per share, the EPS beat the consensus estimates. The Q2 2025 earnings picture was a bit different, bit of a stumble. They reported an EPS of $0.17, which actually missed the consensus estimate of $0.18. And it wasn't just EPS. Their Q2 2025 revenue of $544.83 million also came in slightly below what analysts were expecting, which is around $550 million. So a slight miss on both the top and bottom lines for the latest quarter after a string of beats.
A slight miss on earnings and revenue this quarter. Okay, given that, how robust is their overall financial health? Are they sitting on a pile of cash, or are they carrying significant debt?
Well, from a balance sheet perspective, Hims& Hers shows, I'd say, moderate profitability. Their net income is $193.6 million, giving them a net income margin of roughly 9.6%. The company currently doesn't pay a dividend. That's a pretty clear signal they're prioritizing reinvestment and scaling for rapid expansion over returning capital to shareholders right now. Critically, though, they do show positive cash flow, and there aren't any significant debt warnings flagged. That suggests a relatively healthy operational performance, capable of funding their growth ambitions without excessive borrowing.
Okay, that sounds like a reasonably solid foundation, especially considering how aggressively they're growing. So, in the broader telehealth landscape, how does Hims and Hers stack up against its competitors? Are they carving out a truly defensible niche here?
It's fascinating, their positioning. Hims& Hers operates primarily with a direct-to-consumer model, a D2C model. This gives them strong brand recognition, particularly with certain demographics, and it allows for pretty agile market penetration. We see that reflected in the subscriber and ARPU growth we talked about. However, despite these advantages, they're definitely not operating in a vacuum. They face really robust competition. You've got larger, more established medical and telehealth firms like Teladoc, for example, and even traditional healthcare networks are now expanding their virtual offerings pretty rapidly. Their digital-first approach and sort of curated product and service offerings do give them a competitive edge, but it's a very crowded and fast-evolving space.
Okay, so we've covered the legal headaches, the impressive, though maybe slightly faltering recently, fundamentals, and their spot in the competitive landscape. Now let's talk about the price tag. With all this going on, what's the market currently saying about its value? Is the stock priced for perfection, or is there any margin of safety here?
All right, this is where the rubber really meets the road, and it's a significant area of concern for, I think, many analysts. Hims & Hers Health trades at very, very high valuation multiples. Its trailing price-to-earnings ratio, the PE, stands at 53.47. The forward PE is even higher, at 57.45.
Whoa.
Yeah. For context, the S&P 500 average PE is around 25. Even relatively mature telehealth peers typically trade in the 30 to 40 range. So this isn't just a high number. A PE over 50 implies the market is pricing in, well, perfection. It's anticipating explosive, unimpeded future growth to justify such a premium. But, given the significant legal storm clouds we discussed, is betting on perfection here maybe more like a high-wire act without a net?
That's a really crucial point. If the market's expecting perfection, what are the actual analysts covering the stock recommending? Are they seeing that perfection too, or are they maybe a bit more cautious?
Yeah, the analyst consensus, it's pretty telling. Among the 11 or 12 analysts covering it, the overwhelming rating is a hold, and their 12-month average price target is $38.92. Now, what's really notable here, and kind of a clear red flag for anyone thinking short-term, is that this target is currently below the stock's recent trading range, which was around $41.92 to $45.10 as of August 20th.
Below the current price.
Exactly. And some analysts have even recently lowered their price targets, reinforcing that cautious sentiment. It definitely tells you there's a disconnect between the current market price and what the professionals think it should be worth in the near future.
That's a pretty strong signal of caution from the analyst community. And from a technical perspective, for traders looking at the charts, what are the tea leaves saying? Is there anything important signaling potential entry or exit points?
Well, from a technical standpoint, HIMS and hers has shown exceptionally high volatility. Its 52-week range, it's swung wildly from $13.47 all the way up to $72.98. That's an enormous range. Right now, the stock is trading below its 50-day simple moving average, which is around $52.82. That typically suggests caution for short-term trends. And while it's still technically above its 200-day SMA, which is about $39.95, that longer-term average is actually trending down. That indicates weakening momentum over a broader period.
And that high volatility you mentioned, does that make it a particularly risky play right now, just from a trading perspective?
Oh, absolutely. The company's beta is quite high. Depending on the source, it ranges from about 2.09 up to 2.64. A beta over 2 isn't just a number. It means if the broader market moves 1%, HIMS and hers stock could potentially move 2% or even more in the same direction. So it amplifies both gains and losses significantly. This makes it an incredibly risky short-term trade, especially for anyone who's sensitive to sharp market swings.
Okay, so we have a high valuation, cautious analysts, volatile technicals. It's a complex picture. What's the general market sentiment like for HIMS and hers right now? Is the chatter, on social media and forums generally positive or negative?
Yeah, the general market sentiment seems pretty bearish, reflecting all these concerns we've discussed.
Yeah.
Social media sentiment is definitely leaning negative, with a lot of the conversation focusing on those legal challenges. And if we look at a broader indicator like the Fear and Greed Index, it's currently registering fear at 39. That generally points to a prevailing cautious, maybe even fearful sentiment among retail investors and the market at large. It doesn't feel like a market that's ready to jump in with both feet right now.
Okay, so we've dissected the legal storms, the financial reports, the market's current valuation. What could potentially change this complex outlook? Are there any upcoming events or maybe longer-term trends that could act as significant catalyst for the stock, either up or down?
There are definitely potential catalysts on the horizon, both short and long term. In the short term, the big one is the Q3 2025 earnings report. That's estimated for around November 3rd, 2025. Any significant positive surprise in those numbers, especially after the recent miss we talked about, could potentially move the stock dramatically. Beyond just the earnings numbers, continued subscriber growth that beats those already high expectations, or maybe successful new product launches that diversify their revenue, could also spark some short-term rallies.
And what about the long game? Thinking beyond the next earnings report, what are the sort of transformative opportunities that could really drive growth over the next few years and maybe, just maybe, help justify that lofty valuation?
Looking further ahead, yeah, long-term catalysts could include significant international expansion. If they can successfully unlock new global markets, that could open up entirely new growth avenues. The company could also introduce new product verticals, maybe moving beyond their current core offerings into, say, general wellness solutions, or integrating more cutting-edge AI health technologies into their platform. That could make their services more personalized, more sticky. Possible merger and acquisition activities are also potentially on the table. Strategically acquiring smaller, innovative companies could be transformative down the line. And of course, broader regulatory shifts, if they become more favorable to telehealth, or landing new, significant strategic partnerships could also play a crucial role in reshaping their landscape.
Okay, we've talked about a lot of potential upsides there, but what are the big risks, the things that could really derail this company, especially with that valuation that seems to be pricing in so much future success already?
Yeah, the primary stock-specific risk, as we've kind of hammered home, is undoubtedly those high valuation multiples. It just exposes the company to significant downside risk if future growth falls short of the very high expectations baked into that stock price. They also have a pretty strong reliance on their subscription model and their specific technology platform. That presents competitive risks, not just from other telehealth providers, but maybe even from big tech giants or established healthcare firms pushing more into the digital space. And, with their ambitious expansion plans, execution risk is high. As they broaden their offerings and try to enter new markets, it's one thing to have a plan. It's quite another to execute it flawlessly, especially under scrutiny.
And beyond just the company itself, what about the broader telehealth sector? Are there any industry-wide risks that HIMS and hers might be particularly vulnerable to?
Oh, absolutely. The telehealth sector as a whole faces considerable regulatory uncertainty. Governments, healthcare bodies, they're still kind of figuring out the rules of the road for virtual care. Any unfavorable changes could be a significant headwind for everyone, including HIMS and hers. There's also, as we touched on, just intense competition across the board. Many players are vying for market share right now. Furthermore, macroeconomic factors matter. Things like rising interest rates, which generally make high-growth companies less attractive, or shifts in consumer spending habits during economic downturns. Those could significantly impact discretionary wellness spending, which is a key part of the Hims and Hers business model.
So wrapping this all up, what does this all mean for Hims and Hers Health? It's, well, undeniably a high-growth leader in telehealth. It's got impressive historical momentum in revenue and subscribers, and clearly ambitious plans for expansion.
However, that valuation appears significantly stretched. Analyst consensus leans firmly towards just a hold. Technical trends suggest substantial volatility is likely to continue, and the overall market sentiment is, frankly, bearish. This combination of factors seems to indicate pretty limited short-term upside potential and actually substantial risk for investors looking to jump in right now.
So it seems maybe better suited for investors with a very long-term horizon, assuming, and this is a big assumption, that its rapid growth continues and that valuation eventually normalizes, requiring pretty much flawless execution along the way.
Yeah, that sounds about right. For anyone considering short-term trading, it remains incredibly risky, especially around those upcoming earnings events and with all the ongoing legal developments still playing out.
Okay, so here's maybe a final thought for you, our listeners, to consider. Given the really dynamic nature of telehealth and the ongoing regulatory scrutiny that Hims and Hers is very much facing right now,
How might the entire industry evolve in response to these kinds of pressures? And maybe more specifically, how could Hims and Hers Health adapt its core business model to not just survive, but actually thrive in what could become a potentially much stricter regulatory landscape in the years ahead?
we really hope this detailed analysis helps you in your own investment thinking. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. And if you have a company you'd like us to analyze next time, please let us know in the comments. Thanks for tuning in to Investing Talk Podcast.